back to the Encyclopedia Duck YouTube channel for episode 3 of our ongoing series about Disney Collect and the fun that we're having picking up these cards. So as the title card for this episode suggested, we're going to do something a little bit different for the channel today and go a little bit deeper on one of the sets that are currently available. In fact, one we're going to be focusing on is the next one to go off the app altogether that's soon going to be unavailable. So what we're going to do today is focus on the Easter Party collection and talk a little bit about just what you're going to find if you start spending your coins on this set and whether or not ultimately it's worth that effort. One of the things you might notice from the last episode is that we've updated this table a little bit with numbers. That in fact, since we last recorded, gone in, bought a bunch of packs, and was able to successfully get every one of the uncommon cards available from that Easter Party set. As I mentioned in the last video, this set is fairly disappointing. This is one of the kind of trends that you see often with sets that come out on Disney Collect, where there really isn't any variation between the different levels of scarcity of sets. That in fact the only thing that really changes is minor details. So here's an example of the Winnie the Pooh card that's available within the Easter Party collection. What you can see is the uncommon card, which I got whenever I did get that full set, is Winnie the Pooh holding a basket of eggs with a yellow framing. Now, if you got the rare version of this, the only thing that changed on the entire card is that the yellow framing turned to a blue framing. It's just that it's a little bit harder to get the rare version of this. Similarly, moving to ultra rare, you get a shiny red border. And then finally, the epic version of this is the same thing with a pink border and some confetti thrown on top of it. If you were actually seeing this live, you'd see the eggs float across the screen and the stars come in there. But again, this is a simple function within Photoshop where all they did was change the color filter on it. It's kind of lazy and not really particularly interesting. And so, yes, you can have a rarer version of this card, but at the end of the day, whenever you open up the app and look at your card collection, it's gonna look the same. There really isn't much here. And so if you look at the art itself, it's pretty generic. You're really just talking about a handful of characters, either from the Winnie the Pooh sort of universe or the core Mickey Mouse characters. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Pluto, Goofy, Daisy, Minnie. So it's that small handful of characters with a slight Easter twist put on it. So again, in this example, it's Pooh Bear holding a basket of eggs. Not particularly interesting. Could easily be done with any graphic of Pooh that you just grab off of the internet and throw an Easter basket on there. So not particularly inspired, not particularly interesting. So now, if you go into it and say, okay, all that aside, are there cards that you actually might want? And that's where this gets tough because, as I say, it's an overall fairly disappointing set. So saying the cards that, at least personally for me, are worth the effort, worth the time, worth the cash to get, it's not really there. You're kind of splitting hairs to say that there's outstanding cards here that really warrant ranking. But I want to go through the exercise and say, these at least were out of the 13 different variations that you get within this particular collection, what were my favorite? And again, we recognize this is all personal preference. So my favorite isn't going to be your favorite, and the reason for why these are my favorite versus yours is likely going to be very different. But with those caveats out of the way, here's my ranking of the top 3 cards from the Easter Party collection. First up, number 3 on that list for me is the Pluto card. I just think it's kind of cute that you have the dog there with his bunny ears on, his Easter hat on. But again, overall, it's just Pluto with ears on. Not particularly exciting, not particularly interesting, but again, if you got to pick, this would be my number 3 choice. Similarly, number 2 is Chip and Dale having a bit of fun with some colored eggs. I just enjoy the fact that you have a couple of the characters actually looking joyful, actually showing some activity here that gives it a little bit more life. But again, another point about these cards, lots of white space, and that's not a great sign for a card either. And then finally, probably not particularly surprising given the name of this channel, my number 1 card would be Donald. So there are actually 2 Donald cards within the collection, one of him showing off his butt for some reason. So we didn't choose that one. So we've got Donald with his own version of the rabbit ears hat that Pluto's wearing. He's just color coordinated with his suit versus Pluto's color coordinated with his collar. But we're really grasping here to say that these are outstanding cards. But if I were to say they were ones to get, these would be the top 3 I would pick from that. And again, why go any deeper into rare or super rare or epic? You're not getting that much better. So if you're at all inspired to go and spend money on the Easter Party collection, I would stop at Uncommon. Once you get it, do not spend another cent on it. Overall, I really give this collection a 2 out of 10. Pretty low marks, pretty uninteresting. And overall, if you don't have much money, if you don't have many gold coins, if you're looking at all the other sets out there and thinking, is it really worth taking my limited resources and putting in this cards? I would say no. I would say this is an entirely skippable set. And I would also say if you're getting down to the end stage where you just have 1 or 2 cards left and you're buying pack after pack to try to get that last card, I would stop and see if you could go find a trade to fill out the last one. Don't waste your money trying to complete this set. You can probably pick it out pretty cheaply elsewhere. And that's the other reason for the low rating here. Not only are these cards boring, but the fact is there's probably not going to be a great deal of tradability. I don't think that these are going to be highly desired cards. So even in piling up duplicates of these cards, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to turn around and use them to get really great, really top-notch cards from other collectors. These cards are taking advantage of the Easter holiday and your excitement for it to try to encourage you to put some resources into it when in fact they really don't deserve it. That being said, a bit of a downer, that would also take a few minutes to talk about one other card that's available. It's not really a set so much, at least what's available right now is not a set. You can only get 1 card. It is part of a larger collection, but it's part of a collection that'll be rolled out a card at a time. And this is the Colorful Character Collection. And the feature character here is Pascal from Rapunzel. A lot of the same problems with this card as we had with the Easter collection. All you're doing is taking a cutout of the character straight from probably some other card that is generated in the past and slapping it onto a generic background. And across the entire collection, it's simply different images of Pascal on different colors. The idea behind this is that you would want to go in and collect each one of these with the idea that the real point is to then also get the reward that comes from getting every single part of this. And so you get the rainbow colored background and the final piece of this. And ultimately, again, if you're not a fan of Pascal, if you're not a fan of Rapunzel, don't see why you would do this, particularly because this is also a situation where you're not guaranteed to get the card each time you buy a pack. You could get this card in 1 pack, 2 packs, or you could be drawing your 10th pack and still not have it. And that's why ultimately I rate this card in this collection really just for fans. If you love Pascal, if you love Rapunzel, go ahead, give it a shot. Buy as many packs as you need to get all of them and get your rainbow colored award card. Otherwise, I again say save your coins for better collections, better cards where the art is really outstanding. And ultimately, I give this a 3 Mickey heads out of 10. A little bit more visually interesting than the Easter collection, but not much. To start to wrap up our video for the day, do want to follow up on one note from our last video where we drew the Iridescent card for the Daily Disney card. Mentioned in that video that Iridescent comes from the straight-to-video Tinkerbell series, but was a little spotty on the actual timing of those videos, so went and did a little digging. Found that the first Tinkerbell straight-to-video movie came out in 2008, and in total they made 8 of these movies over approximately 6 years. And Iridescent appears in that very first movie and then continues to show up over the history of these. Don't remember these movies super well. Remember watching them with the kids when they were little. I'm sure they enjoyed them, but it's straight to video Disney, so you kind of know what you're going to get with that. We did, fortunately, whenever we were pulling that Iridescent, not only got the uncommon, but you did get a rare version of that Iridescent, so might be giving that away in the future, but for now, we are still giving away our rare Sleepy card from April 3rd. So waiting for someone to once again come across these videos, and if you are a Disney Collect player and would like to have this card, just subscribe, leave a comment, and it is yours. And of course, we will continue to look for other opportunities to give away cards once we get this going. And if other people start to find us, we'll constantly be finding ways to give listeners cards from our own collection. With that, we will wrap up the video by thanking our sponsor for today. It is Dynaco. Dynaco, the company behind Unleaded 87, the only gas out there with extra pterodactyl. Have fun and keep collecting.